Inspection and Enforcement Services Directorate of the Department of Employment and Labour has implemented a project to conduct farm inspections. This was done in an effort to ensure that there is compliance with various labour laws. Boitumelo Lebeko chats to us about this. Boitumelo, what are farm inspections and who conducts them?
Well, farm inspections are a program that the Department of Employment and Labour, through its Inspection and Enforcement Services Unit, has embarked on to assess the level of compliance with labour laws and health and safety regulations.
So which legislations is applicable for farm inspections?
Well, there's various legislations that apply in the labour law department. However, I'll just name a few in this regard. The Basic Conditions of Employment Act, together with Sectoral Determination 13, which exclusively regulates the basic conditions of employment for farmers in South Africa. The Occupational Health and Safety Act, the Employment Equity Act, and also the Immigration Act.
So what types of inspections are there, if you could tell us?
Well, these inspections basically take the form of labour inspections, which are just to assess the level of compliance with labour laws, that there are sound labour practices, improved working conditions, and also the implementation of new minimum wages. At the same time, it's also to assess that there is compliance with various immigration laws.
So what happens during these inspections?
Well, typically what would happen is that an inspector would arrive at a workplace and they can question any person that they find there, which in most cases includes the employees. And they can ask for various documentation like employment contracts, which includes both permanent and fixed-term contracts, pay slips, the attendance register, and the personal files of each employee. They can also inspect to make sure that the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and the Employment Equity Act are available on the premises to be inspected by the employees.
Now, as we know, the safety of our farmers and farm workers is of major concern in the country currently. How can farmers confirm that this inspector is exactly who they say they are?
Well, labour inspectors have the authority to act in terms of Section 65(1) of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. And because of that, they can enter any premises, including farms, without any prior notice at a reasonable time. They can also get a written authorization from the Labour Court to get premises onto farms where the employers don't want to give them access. However, we can't deny the fact that farmers are vulnerable people at the moment. So before a farmer grants them access, they can request to see a signed certificate. This is a certificate that the minister provides to each inspector, which states that the person is a labour inspector, under which legislation that person performs those functions, and which functions that the person can actually perform. So if ever someone does get to their premises and say that they are a labour inspector, they can actually request to see the certificate, and if they don't have it, they can deny to grant them access and ask them to come back when they have a signed certificate.
Now, as we know, we've got many foreign farm workers. Are there any laws concerning them that farmers need to comply with?
Well, it is a fact that South Africa is a popular destination for foreign-born migrants who are in search for better socio-economic opportunities. And as a result, the Immigration Law Act, Section 38 of the Immigration Law Act, states that no person can actually employ an illegal foreigner or a foreigner whose status doesn't allow them to actually be employed by such a person. Because there have been cases where illegal foreigners are employed by these farmers or any other employers, and they exploit them because of that. So now there actually is a law that states that you can't employ an illegal foreigner, and you need to ascertain the status of each employee that's in your premises.
Are there any repercussions for farmers who do not comply with labour laws?
In a perfect world, we'd like to believe that every person complies with any laws and regulations that apply to them. However, that is not the case. For example, with some of the inspections that have been conducted already in Mpumalanga, in Bushbuckridge and Standerton, there have been employers who shut down their businesses for approximately 2 days just to frustrate the inspections. Section 49(3) of the Immigration Act makes the non-compliance with the regulations a statutory criminal offence, which is punishable on a first conviction with imprisonment at least not exceeding a year or a fine, on a second conviction imprisonment not exceeding 2 years or a fine, and on a third conviction with imprisonment not exceeding 5 years without an option of a fine. The fines can range from 7,000 Rand to 50,000 Rand per person depending on the contravention. On the other hand, if a labour inspector has reasons to believe that the employer has not complied with the Basic Conditions of Employment Act provisions, they have to secure a written undertaking from the employer to state that they will comply with the provision. And if they don't comply, they can alternatively get a compliance order. This compliance order can be made an order of the Labour Court if the employer does not comply or object to this compliance order.
So rather be safe than sorry, I think, yeah. How would you advise farmers to make sure that they comply with the Department of Labour's expectations?
Well, first and foremost, farmers need to make sure that they have copies of the various labour law legislations, and more specifically as well Sectoral Determination 13. They can get these legislations and the sectoral determination from the labour law, from the Department of Labour's website on www.labour.gov.za. But I'd also advise them to ask themselves a few questions, basically. Are my workers' basic work conditions in line with Sectoral Determination 13? And do I have a copy of this on my premises for the workers to inspect? Am I registered with the Unemployment Insurance Fund? Am I registered with the Compensation Fund? Are my workers and I trained to recognize health and safety problems? Do I have an attendance register? And do all my foreign workers have valid work permits?
Well, we thank you for the good advice. And that was Boitumelo Lebeko from VDT Lawyers, and she's gave us more information and advice as far as farm inspections are concerned.